When you're looking for a job, there are usually a couple different steps. First, you'll fill out a job application that might include things like your contact information, might include a few questions about why you want to work there, those kinds of things. And then a lot of organizations are going to ask you to send them a resume. So a resume is a quick guide, usually about 1 page, that tells a potential employer about you. It's supposed to be a snapshot that they can look at pretty quickly and get a general sense of what you're about. So that's going to include your education. If you're still in high school, that's okay. You can just put your expected graduation date. You're also going to include experience. Now, if you've never had a job before, this section might be a little hard to fill, but that's where we can get creative. If you are wanting to work at an accounting firm and you took a budgeting class, you could put that under experience. At least show them that you have something that connects, whether it's babysitting experience, mowing the lawn, whatever it is. You can get creative when you're looking for your first job. And then there's a skills section. This is where you can really shine, especially if your experience section isn't super developed. You can really emphasize your skills. Maybe you are a really fast typer. Maybe you are a great public speaker. Maybe you are just really good at math and adding things up. Whatever it is that your skill is, you can emphasize that on your resume and try to make sure that it connects to the job you're going for. So again, if you are applying to an accounting firm, highlighting things like your typing abilities, your math abilities, those are going to be really helpful. If you're applying to stock shelves at a grocery store, maybe you talk about your organizational skills, or you talk about your time management. These are all different things that you can highlight. And then you can also highlight your accomplishments. Now, that doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be all kinds of things. It could be getting a Girl Scout badge. It could be making the honor roll for a semester. Whatever it is that you can use to kind of highlight yourself and highlight what you're good at and why someone should hire you. So that resume, it's a quick guide with some basic information about your skills, experience, education, and accomplishments. Another thing that might come up when you are applying for jobs is a cover letter. Now, this is usually optional, but a cover letter is your opportunity to get a little bit more specific and dive into why you're applying for a specific job at a specific place. A resume is kind of a template that you can send to multiple different places in the same category. So if you're applying to ice cream shops, you can send that resume to 4 different types of ice cream shop. A cover letter, though, is going to be a little bit more specific. In a cover letter, you might talk about the ice cream shop that your family goes to every single Sunday, and you've noticed how welcoming the atmosphere is and how beautiful the murals on the wall are, and you just can see yourself working with that really kind and happy team. That's something that won't come across in a resume that you could absolutely put in a cover letter. It just is an opportunity for you to be more specific, to expand on the things that matter, but also to tell more of a story. It's more of a letter format versus just a template bulleted list. Now, again, cover letters are not required, but it might increase your chances of being noticed by a hiring manager. Especially if they're looking at 20 different resumes, noticing that you have a cover letter and that you have more of a story about why you want to work there could really set you apart. I am a hiring manager, and from my personal experience, I get really excited when I see a cover letter because that tells me that somebody cares extra about wanting to work there. They put in extra effort and extra time to put together an extra document for me. So overall, when you're applying, Hopefully this helps you better understand the purpose of resumes and cover letters and what makes them different. We'll include some handouts that give some more tips and some examples of what those documents look like. Interviews can be really intimidating, and it is completely normal to feel nervous about it. So today I want to present you with some tips and insights into the interview process, so hopefully we can take some of the fear out of it. So first things first, if you get called or someone sends you an email and they want to interview you, first of all, amazing, great job. Next, you want to make sure that you write down the date and time for that interview. Write it down somewhere you won't forget. And if you have someone in your life who helps you manage your schedule, like a parent or sibling or support staff, make sure that you let them know too, so that everybody is on the same page about when this is happening. Next, you want to plan ahead and make sure that you know exactly how you're going to get to that interview. What is your plan for transportation? That could be scheduling a paratransit ride, setting up a ride with a parent or sibling, taking the city bus, driving yourself. Just have a plan for how you're going to get there. You also want to arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early. This shows the interviewer that you really care about the position and that you really respect their time. Again, this is why it's important to plan ahead for transportation, to make sure that you can arrive 10 to 15 minutes early and make sure that you have that plan. You also want to plan your outfit. You want to kind of dress up a little bit for an interview. Now, there's a ton of information out there about what to wear, and it would be a lot to get into, but the main thing to think about is that you want the interviewer's focus to be on you and on your qualifications, your strengths, all of the awesome things about you. So if you're wearing clothing that has a lot of holes in it, or a lot of words, or anything like that that might distract the interviewer, those are the kinds of things you want to avoid. You want to try and look professional, clean cut. It also kind of depends on the job. If you're interviewing at a tattoo parlor, that's going to be very different than interviewing for an office job. But regardless, you don't want your outfit to take away any focus from you. We'll include some handouts with this video that will tell you a little bit more and provide some examples of appropriate outfits for an interview. Another thing to think about as you're getting the interview scheduled is, are you going to be requesting an accommodation? Now, an accommodation is any sort of change to the environment or to the system that will help you be successful. So a really common one for interviews is to ask for the questions ahead of time. Maybe you need a little bit more time to process. Maybe it's really hard for you to answer things on the spot. If you need that extra processing time, you can absolutely ask, can I read the questions ahead of time so that I can think about it, so that I can practice it? And if you are an anxious person and you're really worried about the interview, you can ask additional questions when it's scheduled. Like, can you tell me what the room is going to look like? Can you tell me how many people are going to be in there? Those kinds of things you can ask when you're scheduling that interview. It's best to do those things ahead of time so that the interviewer can prepare and make sure that they can accommodate those things. And then finally, I recommend researching the business and the organization. Go and spend some time on their website. Figure out what is their mission, what's important to them, what kind of work do they do. Not only might this impress the interviewer to know that you really care enough to spend extra time researching, but it also gives you some additional context, and it might help you with how to answer specific questions, making sure that you're relating your answers to the things that they care about. Okay, so you've scheduled the interview. You've written down the date and time, you've let somebody else know about it, you've made a plan for transportation so that you can arrive a few minutes early, you've planned out your outfit, you've requested any accommodations, you've researched the business, you are ready. So let's get to the day of the interview. So the day before the interview, you want to do your best to get a good night's sleep. I know, easier said than done if you're feeling really nervous, but it's really important to try to be at your best and getting a good night's sleep is a big part of that. Additionally, you want to make sure that you eat something beforehand. Hunger can be really distracting. If you're sitting there and you're trying to answer questions and your stomach is growling or you're starting to feel kind of hangry, that is going to be really distracting for you, and you're not going to be able to focus on your answers and on showing the interviewer why they should hire you. Additionally, I recommend bringing a copy of your resume or your cover letter in some sort of folder so that it doesn't get rained on or anything like that. Again, this shows the interviewer that you really care about the job and that you really want to be there, that you respect them, that you are excited and prepared. Additionally, you might be able to refer to that paperwork as you're going through the interview. If they ask a question about your prior experience or they ask about a reference, you'll have it all right there to look at. So that can also help ease some of that anxiety to have some of those things ahead of time. And then this is a big one. Before you go in, do whatever you need to do to help calm your nerves. That might look like taking a few deep breaths. That might look like counting to 10. That might look like doing some power poses. A lot of people say that this can be really helpful to kind of pose like a superhero and build your confidence before you enter into the room. But another thing to remember is that they already like you enough to invite you for an interview. Something in your application or your resume or cover letter, something piqued their interest. Something made them think, oh, this person might be a good fit here. So if you start to feel extra nervous, that's okay. You might be nervous the whole time. But remember that they already liked you enough to bring you there. So you already have a foot in the door. So we've done all the preparation, and now here we are, the day of the interview, and most interviews tend to follow a similar sequence. Usually, you're going to enter the room wherever the interview is being held, and you're going to do introductions. So the person who's leading the interview is going to introduce themselves. Now, when they say their name, try to remember that. You're going to want to remember that when you tell them thank you later, or when you send a follow-up, which we'll talk about in a minute. So they're going to introduce themselves, you're going to remember their name, and then you're going to introduce yourself. After that, a lot of times, the interviewer will start telling you some more information about the position, about the organization. Hopefully, these are things you already kind of know because you did your research. But they're going to kind of break the ice by giving you a little bit more information about the job. And then there's the moment that everybody thinks about when thinking about an interview. They're going to start asking you questions. Maybe you've seen these questions ahead of time, or maybe you're doing it on the fly. Either way, you want to try and focus on your strengths, your gifts, your capacities, what you have to offer them. And then when they finish asking you questions, you get the opportunity to ask questions of them. And I really recommend preparing a few questions ahead of time. Again, this is something you could write out and bring with you so that you don't forget, so that you have it to reference. These questions could come in a lot of different forms. One that's really fun is to ask the interviewer, what is your favorite part about working here? Not only could this give you some insight into the culture at that organization and what they like and what they are excited about, but we all like to talk about ourselves, at least a little bit. And so if you ask the interviewer to share with you something that they're excited about, you give them the chance to talk about something that they're really excited about, something that they like about where they work, that is going to make them feel like you also care about them as a person and care about what is fun about working there. You're not there just to find a job, but to find a job in a place that has similar values or that has fun things going on. You're just trying to figure out what people there enjoy to see if it aligns with what you enjoy. You could also ask questions about logistics. Questions like, is there a dress code here? Are there opportunities for advancement? What does your pay structure look like? And then you could also ask questions looking forward. Like, when can I expect to hear from you? When do you hope to make a decision about the job? especially if you are nervous. That can help you to know, okay, this is when I can expect to hear from them. That can help take away some of the uncertainty that comes with the aftermath of interviews. And then finally, they've asked you questions, you've asked them questions, and now you get to conclude. And here's where you thank them for their time. You remember their name, you say their name, you say, "Thank you, Billy, for taking the time to meet with me today." And then you leave, and you breathe, and you get through it and be happy that you're done. Congrats! Another reason to remember the interviewer's name is that after the interview, you might want to send them a follow-up message, thanking them again, and letting them know that you look forward to hearing them. Again, this shows that you really care about the position and that you want to take time out of your day to follow up with them. Sending a follow-up message to them within 24 hours, thanking them, letting them know that you look forward to hearing them, this just confirms for them that you really care about the position and that you really want to hear from them. So, interviews are scary. They're probably always going to be scary. Even if you've done a few, you might still get a little nervous, and that's okay. But hopefully, this could give you some insight and some tips to take some of the fear away and make it a little bit more of a confident experience.